so that all may hear what you have to share. For everything is valuable.
Is this on? Hi, Bashar. I've got a question.
All right, one moment. What happened to, hello, good day. This is, after all, a diplomatic exchange.
Aloha.
And to you, good day. What would you like to discuss this day?
I met you like, I don't know, it was like 14 years ago in Egypt.
Oh, all right.
I wanted to ask you, when you project your consciousness out from your physical, are you conscious in your physical being of your projection, or are you projecting from your higher self state?
Is there a difference?
There is here.
Only because you have made a difference in your definition. Understand that from our perspective, I am not projecting out. I am containing you in my definition of who I am. So that in my consciousness, you become a part of me and I dialogue with that part of me. The vibration that I give off, the state, the vibrational state I put myself in, is of a particular frequency. The channel sitting before you has been trained to match that frequency. When his frequency matches my frequency in a certain way, then we fall into a lockstep vibration, and in that sense, what you get is simultaneously created thoughts that are identical in both places. In other words, telepathy is not actually transmission over a distance per se. It is not reading each other's minds or projecting or sending in that sense, really. It is that when you are in the same vibratory state as another, you have exactly the same thought at exactly the same moment. That's why people who are in love often know exactly what each other are thinking and say the same things at the same time and finish each other's sentences. So in my state of repose, I am completely aware of the fact that this interaction is going on, but I do put myself into an altered state that vibrationally represents the idea that this dialogue exists within the greater idea of myself as an expression. And thus, it immediately translates simultaneously into any other idea of location that also matches that frequency. Does that make sense to you in your language at all?
Yeah, it does.
Does that help address the question, or is there some other avenue you wish to explore about this to aid and assist in clarity?
Yes.
All right.
Do you use any mechanical means to facilitate this, or do you?
In some senses, we do. Although, of course, different civilizations will do it in different ways, depending upon how they have oriented themselves. But what you are referring to as mechanical assistance isn't exactly mechanical assistance as you understand it. Many of you have heard that our ships are self-aware. They're not exactly what you would call machines. They are actually beings. They are consciousnesses. They are life forms of a type. But they have the ability, because we have designed it into them, to be plugged into the vibrations of many different states, many different locales, instantaneously and simultaneously. And they are used to help amplify and focus the vibrational state I mentioned before that allows this interaction to take place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they augment us, but at the same time, the consciousness of the ship that we are, in that sense, in touch with is also actually part of our own greater self, or higher self, if you wish to put it in those terms. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
When your people actually get to the point where you create what you have called artificially intelligent computers, you will actually discover that what you're actually speaking with is your own higher self. Because you will have simply finally created a device that represents the appropriate arrangement of vibrations that allows a consciousness to communicate through into your physical reality domain. And it will be yourselves that you actually are talking to. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm not too entrusting with the people that would be creating the machines that would do that and their consciousness.
All right. Well, what are you interested in?
No, I'm interested in it. I just am. Our society is dominated by forces.
Really?
That do a lot to do with
your society
material goods.
Dominated by forces?
Yeah.
What forces are those? May I remind you, by the way, that I understand the experience you're talking about, but I also want to remind you that what you have just said is actually nothing more than the product of a belief and a definition. It isn't empirically true at the core of your being. It's just what you have all created as an experience on your planet. You have created the experience of your society being dominated by forces, but your society is not actually dominated by anything. Because you are your society. If you want to see anything in your world change, all you have to do is change yourself. And you will suddenly literally be in another reality where that idea no longer exists and that vibration never has. The whole idea of changing your reality isn't really changing your reality. It's you changing yourself and going into a parallel reality that contains a reflection of the way you have changed yourself, with other versions of other people in those realities that are more reflective of the vibration of your preference. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand that.
Does that help?
I'd love to talk to you more, but there's people waiting.
That's all right. We can talk at another time if you wish. We have all the time in creation. Thank you. And to you, good day.
Thank you. I'm a little confused by what you said about us being your ancestors and you being our descendants.
Oh, all right.
And also,
would you like me to explain that?
Sure. And also, if you could address the any changes that we make or any choices that we make, does that also impact you in any way, or now or in the future?
All right. Thank you. First of all, many of you are familiar with what has been called on your planet the abduction phenomenology, yes? All right. And you have heard that beings you have called the Greys have used human genetic material to create, with their own genetic material, races of what you will call hybrid beings, yes? Our race is one of those hybrid races in what you call your future. So you are literally our genetic ancestors. And we thank you for birthing us. We recognize that some of what you went through to allow us to exist wasn't always pleasurable for you. And so we take upon ourselves the responsibility of coming in this way to assist you through the process in return for having given us our existence. You are literally our genetic ancestors. Now, something else we should illuminate with regard to the whole idea of the Greys, at least in general. First of all, of course, understand there are many types of gray being, and gray is just a generalized euphemism. But for now, it will do in this dialogue. The Greys, as you understand them, those that are doing those particular hybridization programs, are not exactly what you recognize as extraterrestrial. Even though they do have, technically, advanced technology that allows them to visit other planets and build societies on other planets, and in that sense, yes, come from other planets, they're still, at their core, originally, not exactly extraterrestrial. Think about it genetically. How could they actually use your genetic material and blend it with theirs if there was not already compatibility to create a hybrid race? Because part of the idea is that they became genetically unviable to reproduce and needed genetic material that would allow them to create a hybrid race that would reproduce. Therefore, their genetic makeup and your genetic makeup actually had to be somewhat similar to begin with for that to be even possible. So understand, The Greys are not exactly extraterrestrial. They are mutated humans from a parallel Earth that destroyed their civilization, much in the same way your civilization is polluting itself, adapted to it, mutated to it, found out they could no longer reproduce, and recognized the only way to perpetuate their society was to find a source of genetically viable material, but there were no longer any humans. But wait, in parallel realities there are. And so they tunneled into your parallel reality and said, look at all the humans. Viable genetic material to continue our species. It won't be exactly our species, but it will be something that will perpetuate our reality, and hence the hybrids. And there are many different hybrid civilizations, of which we are only one. So again, we thank you. Great, 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 great grandma.
Thank you very much.
Now, your second question. First of all, impact and change. And what impact does change have? Well, there is a very interesting number of aspects to this idea. Number one is this. Oh, are you listening? Yes. Are you paying attention? Yes. Oh, all right, just checking. Want to make sure we are not boring anyone. Every change, no matter how small, is a total change of everything in creation. Every change changes everything. Because every change, by definition, is a new equation, a new variable, a new vibration, and a new vibration is a new vibration in totality. Impact. In one sense, therefore, you could say every change has total impact on everything. The analogy would be, imagine yourself to be a little gear with teeth on it. You understand gear? All right. And it's touching the next gear, and that gear touches the next gear, and that touches all the other gears all the way out to infinity. Well, if your little gear, even turns a little bit, all the other gears have to turn. They're all connected to you. They're all touching. All the teeth are interlocked. So even if you go that much, the other gears must turn some degree. So it changes everything. Now, the other side of this issue of impact is this. We understand that when you all get, as you say, fired up about your mission, your purpose, and you wonder what impact you will have on society, I will tell you this from this perspective. You can never have more impact than you already have just by existing. I'll say it another way. You already have, just by the very fact of your existence, 100% impact of all the impact you will ever have, just because you exist. But we know what you're asking for, but we'll tell it to you this way. When you do the things you love to do, when you express yourself creatively in a way that you desire to create an impact with, it isn't that you will have more impact than you already have. It's that following your joy and acting on your excitement will simply create more ability for you to perceive in a number of ways the impact you already have. You won't create more impact. You will create more ability to perceive the impact you already have just by the fact of your existence. Because all that is already all that is. So if you exist in it, you already have infinite impact because you are an aspect of all that is. But the idea of fulfilling Your purpose of being yourself and expressing yourself in all the ways that you can will give you and others more ability to perceive the impact you're already having in a number of ways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's been 19 years since we had the pleasure of speaking together.
19
or
little
I've
orbits.
had the pleasure.
All right.
I actually have two questions to pose on two different topics, if I may.
Go ahead.
The first one is about the same time that I spoke with you, I had a visual sighting, and the ships were like 6 or 7 individual ships.
Yes.
And then they formed into one.
All right.
Now, what you shared tonight about your ships being, I forget how you phrased it, but conscious, self-aware.
Conscious. Yes.
Is that how these ships were able to form into one?
Well, in a sense, yes. I mean, the idea is that in changing their frequency, in changing their vibration, they were performing a kind of blending idea that then translated in your dimension of reality in no other way other than appearing to become one ship. The idea really is you have to understand everything already is one. You know that, yes?
Okay.
All right, you don't sound convinced. We can get a little bit more into that in a moment.
I'm trying to fly with you here.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay.
Flying is fun.
So I'm seeing these individuals.
Oh, 1 minute.
Okay.
Not done. Hold on, 1 minute. Now, everything is already really one thing. The idea that you perceive as separate things is simply part of the vibrational illusion, in a sense. Everything is all that is. It's made of all that is. There is nothing but all that is expressing itself in a number of different ways simultaneously. Does that make sense so far? Yes, no, maybe?
Maybe.
All right. Do you understand what a hologram is?
Not fully, no. I mean, I've seen it on...
All right. One of your three-dimensional technology pictures, yes?
Okay.
It looks like a three-dimensional image, but the image, in a sense, is still captured on what you would call a two-dimensional piece of film. Yet it projects and appears to be a three-dimensional object, and you can look at it from different sides, and it seems three-dimensional, but all you're holding is a two-dimensional flat thing. You understand?
Uh-huh.
All right. But if you understand how that works, then the idea is similar to the way the universe, in a sense, is constructed vibrationally. What that means is all of those angles of the hologram are actually all in the same place at the same time. All the information is in one spot. It's all one thing. It appears to be different angles because of your angle of observation. So the perception of it is what makes it appear to be this side of the object, and then when you move your perceptive angle, it makes it appear to be that side of the object, but you know there isn't really a three-dimensional object there. It's just your angle of perception that makes it seem as if there is, because all the information of all sides of the object are all in the same place, and depending upon your angle of approach, it gives you a piece of that information that says, look, you see this side of the object, but all the other information for all the other sides of the object are all in the same place anyway. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Kind of, all right. Well, it might be interesting to you to do a little research on this, but taking that analogy further, with regard to the ships that you saw, what they were exhibiting to you is the idea that separateness is really an illusion, and that what can appear to be 6, 7, a dozen, 200, 2,000 different things are actually one thing when you change their frequencies to match, and they harmonize as one thing. You, from your perspective, in your reality, will then only perceive it to be one thing. So they were both at the same time one thing and still several things, but from your perspective, because of the way they changed their frequency, they only appeared from that point forward to be one thing to you.
So
Does that make sense?
Is this kind of like saying, I see 7 Volkswagens, and then they've just formed together to become a bus? Is that the same? Is that the same analogy that you're giving me? That
what we are saying, more precisely, is that the 7 people's cars and the bus both coexist simultaneously. They don't actually become one another or transform from one to the other. They both coexist at the same time, but depending upon your perspective at that moment, your vibration and their vibration, you will either see the bus or the 7 people cars.
Okay, I think I can get that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the second question? Oh, I'm sorry, were you done?
No, yes, the second question.
Okay, the second question. I understand that there is an ancient civilization in Earth. Are they considered extraterrestrials, or are they...
Are you talking about the interior of your planet?
Yes.
There is nothing physically, in that sense, interior to your planet, but you can shift dimensionally to make it seem as if you're going inside your planet, and there are consciousnesses and intelligences in that vibration, but it only appears as if you're going literally, physically inside your planet, but what you're actually doing is shifting interdimensionally into another reality altogether that simply translates, again, from your perspective, to seem as if you're actually going physically in your planet, but you're not.
See, that I totally got.
There you go.
Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
My question was if you could shed some light on the nature of ships that exist in subatomic mass, and related to that, I've heard that some ships that say are 60 feet in diameter, to them it's like 900 miles long.
Yes.
And that was it.
All right, you want me to shed some light on that? Yes?
In particular, the ones existing in subatomic mass.
All right, well, again, it is similar to what we have just discussed. It is a matter of vibrational perspective, because different dimensions, as you understand them or as you translate them from your dimensional perspective, will appear to have different qualities of dimensionality. And some of those qualities of dimensionality won't translate into your dimension in any way that makes sense to your three-dimensional minds, and so they will appear to be missing mass or volume, and in that sense will appear to be very small, perhaps even subatomic. It's not that to themselves they are, but from your perspective they would appear to be, because they don't completely translate across. And that's why there are civilizations that have created the ability, however, to combine these frequencies in a way that what would appear on the outside to be a very small ship, on the inside can actually be miles, 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 and miles long. Because they are using 2 different dimensional frequencies in a kind of a dance, in a coherent, harmonized dance, in a way that the idea of the outside translates in one dimension one way, but then translates completely differently when it comes to the interior because of those dimensional vibrational shiftings going on. Is this making any sense in your language? Yes. Yes. To the questioner? Yes. All right. Does that help? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Now, your civilization will ultimately learn to do this as well. It may take a little while, but you will learn to do this. There are many civilizations that have employed this technology, even in what you would call their structures, in their cities, so that the planets seem relatively city-free, relatively structure-free. What may be there may appear to be nothing more than a door, but when you walk through it, you're inside a building that might be miles long. And therefore, it doesn't take up any space on the planet, but it takes up space in another dimension. So, thank you. And?
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Several of us are working on a plan to assist in remembering.
All right.
It involves a artifact that has been identified in the book, the Bible Code 2, as existing on the Lisan Peninsula in Jordan, allegedly put there in antiquity by extraterrestrials.
What artifact are you referring to?
Well, that is the mystery, because it has not been recovered, and that is what the plan is.
To recover it?
To recover it.
Have a good time. Sounds like a plan.
Yes, it should be fun.
There are objects that exist in various places on your planet that do have extraterrestrial origins and or connections. And their existence and the process of their discovery in and of itself is an important process for the awakening of consciousness on your planet. So have a good time.
The question is,
yes,
is it appropriate and timely for the search and recovery?
Do you think you will be able to find it if it's not the appropriate timing?
That is my sense, that we know about it because the signal has been sent of the appropriateness.
Then the very fact that you know about it and the very fact that you are inspired to go looking for it and the very process you will go through in doing so without expectation will be exactly what needs to happen. And the outcome will be exactly what needs to happen. And the paradox is, if you drop the expectation that you need to find it while you're actually in the process of looking for it, the outcome will be exactly what it needs to be.
Thank you.
And the artifact will have served the purpose for which it was actually designed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm not there, but you're welcome.
My name is Shamian, and I wanted to ask you about the energies here on the islands particularly. I moved here on Tuesday, and I felt I was coming to the Lemurian homeland.
You are.
And
Hawaiian islands were connected to the chain of that which you understood as Lemuria, yes.
Well, in my interdimensional journeying, I've found that energies were seeded in the Lemurian civilization that are relevant for the shift that we're making now. And it feels to me like soul groups from Lemuria are collecting here in Hawaii to come together to bring these codes into manifestation. Can you give me any information on that, please?
Understand that what you call the Hawaiian area, for lack of a better term, is the heart chakra of the planet. And in that sense, therefore, individuals who are attracted vibrationally to that area on your planet will find great opening in the heart vibration that will unlock the codes and information that need to be unlocked in the proper timing as they evolve through their process. Remember, all of you remember this and keep this picture squarely in your minds, or roundly if you wish. As has already been discovered by many people doing these kinds of researches on your planet, you all now, if you think about it for a moment, will remember that your heart, with every beat, actually gives off an electromagnetic pulse that leaves your body at the speed of light. 186,300 miles per second. You all give off these bubbles of electromagnetic energy with every beat of the heart. Every single one. And that, it moves outward from around, in that sense, to envelop everyone at the speed of light. You are all immersed in each other's heart bubbles all the time. Communication with each other, telepathy, happens through the heart vibration, not through the mind. That's why we refer to it as telepathy, not telepathy. It's how you feel in that sense. It's the vibration of your heart that actually is the first communication you all experience and the ocean of electromagnetic energy that you all swim in. Hawaii represents that vibration, that frequency, that openness, that givingness, that ability to relax into your true self, and if used that way, it will accelerate and expand your energy. But remember, it's a very amplifying energy and can be amplifying in both directions, positively and negatively. What you bring with you into that region is what will get amplified. And in that sense, what that means is, eventually and relatively rapidly, it will force you to face things that need to be integrated within your consciousness. Bring them to the surface. And you will, in that sense, be telling yourself this is something that must be dealt with in order for you to become a holistic being. When approached in this manner, all of the information that is contained and encoded within that vibration will come out in a time-released fashion exactly at the moment you can incorporate it best into your consciousness, and exactly in the way in your imagination that you can best express it to allow yourself to be most fully who you are, and in that way, as an example to others, aid and assist them in also choosing, by seeing it in you, to also be more fully who they are. Does this description answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, and blessings to you as well.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have 2 questions for you.
Seems to be a theme.
May I borrow one of your ships for a benevolent purpose?
For what purpose?
A benevolent purpose.
A benevolent purpose.
Yes.
Yes, you may. Come and get it.
In fact, my second question, you must have read my mind, was exactly that. Are you a pilot?
Yes.
I would like very much to come and get it. Thank you.
Now remember, please, all of you, you all have the ability in what you call your out-of-body dream time to do just that, and most of you already have several times.
Correct.
The idea is to now start to see physical reality as no different than the dream. Because it isn't any different. You just say that it is.
I don't say it is.
You know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
In general, most of you define physical reality as different than the dream, but it isn't. It's just a different kind of dream. So yes.
Thank you.
You have our permission. Come and get it. Anytime. And thank you.
Aloha.
And to you, good day.
I have a question about vibration and changing it without trying.
Changing it without frying.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right.
But actually, you know, when you're trying to change a
when
vibration...
you're what?
When you... Okay. When...
That was a change of vibration right there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Going from trying to change to just when you change your vibration.
Okay.
Because you do all the time anyway. You're not talking about doing anything different than what you're already doing, you know. You're just becoming more aware of what you're doing so that you can do it with intention and consciousness. But you're not learning how to do it. You already do it. You do it all the time. If you didn't, you wouldn't have an experiential reality. Changing your vibration is innate to all of you. Automatic, natural. You can't help but do it. You're doing it right now. It's just a matter of becoming aware of how you're doing it, what you're doing it, why you're doing it, and then making a choice. That's all. Does that make sense?
It does, but
yes.
Is there a way of learning to change your vibration to health without trying?
I just told you. You are changing your vibration right now. You're doing it all the time. So why are you asking me, how can I learn to change it? You're doing it right now. You just did it again. 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 Just did it again. You just did it again. Just did it again. You just did it again. You're doing it all the time. You don't have to learn how to change your vibration. If you want to stop trying, stop. But remember, trying to change your vibration is in and of itself a definition. It's a thing that you're doing. You're using your energy to experience trying. That's all right. Just acknowledge that that's what you're doing. That's all. And if you are then done with trying, you'll stop. If you're not done with trying, you won't. Let us explain something in this way. Please understand, every single one of you without exception, and I mean without exception, are absolutely master creators. Every single one of you. You are always manifesting instantaneously. Again, if you weren't, you wouldn't have an experiential reality. You have to always be manifesting something in order to have what you call the next moment in your reality. So you're constantly manifesting. Constantly. Now, if because of your definitions and your belief systems and what you have been taught to believe is true, you feel that you must create for yourself a manifestation of the experience of trying to do something, well, you're still actually manifesting. It's just that you're manifesting a specific thing that gives you an experience called trying to do something. But that is a manifestation. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
You see, it's really, in a sense, like you're just playing a game of hide and seek with yourself. Even though you may feel like you're trying to manifest, you are actually manifesting trying. You're already manifesting. It's just now that you have to get in touch with the fact that you may no longer prefer to manifest that. But you don't have to learn to manifest. You do it instantaneously, flawlessly, magnificently, and perfectly. You just have to get in touch with why it is you would think that manifesting the experience of trying to manifest is something that you are getting something out of. When you believe you're no longer really getting anything out of that experience, believe me, you will stop doing it. And you'll manifest something else. But it's all about definition, and it's all about how you have defined your motivation. Again, every single thing you do, again, all of you, again, without exception, every single thing you choose to do, you do for one simple motivation. It's always the same motivation in every case, without exception, without fail. You will always move toward what you define to be more pleasure and move away from what you define to be more pain. Always. Your choices will always be based on that. And yet many of you say, but I'm experiencing a lot of pain. Why am I not moving away from it? If you're finding out that pain is manifesting in your life and you don't seem to be moving away from it, it's because you have defined that what it is that's causing you pain is actually less painful than the alternative. And so you're motivated to keep doing it. As soon as you change your definition about the alternative into something that is, in that sense, less painful than what you're doing, believe me, you will instantaneously stop doing that and start doing this. Instantly. It's all a matter of how you define what it is that you think you want to do and your motivation based on that definition. That's all it's all about. So, the first thing to do would be, if you find yourself in an experience of trying to do something, ask yourself, what do I believe I'm getting out of that experience? There must be something about it I believe is serving me, even if what it's doing is keeping me away from something I think is actually even scarier. That might be a service to you. You might think it is a service. You might be defining it as a service. You may say intellectually, I would rather be doing that thing. But if something deep within you defines the doing of that thing as more scary than the thing you're already doing, you will choose the devil you know as opposed to the devil you don't. Always. So when you understand that what it is you say you want to do is actually in your best interest and really will serve you, you will instantly choose it, instantly move in that direction, and instantly stop doing the thing that you say you no longer want to do, that you're tired of. But if you keep doing it, you must not be tired enough of it yet. Or you must not have found out why you believe you need to keep doing it. And that's where getting in touch with definitions that are deep within you is so very critical and so very crucial. Because you have to understand that every single thing you do is based on what you define to be true about it, and define what you believe to be true about your relationship to it. And it's all based on what you've been taught, and that's why we initially said when we came through in this transmission that all of the things we're talking about is all about unlearning. You have to redefine your reality to experience a new reality, because you have been taught so many definitions that you simply assume are automatically true that you never question them. Here's an example that we often give to illustrate the point. Are you paying attention?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Many of you say, I know I keep doing this thing. I don't want to keep doing it. I can't help it. It's a habit. All right. But that's because you've defined a habit as something you can't help but keep doing. Our definition of a habit is this. A habit is something you do that you don't know you're doing. Once you know you're doing it, it's not a habit, it's a choice. Ooh, responsibility. Oh no, scary. No, 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 no. If you keep doing it and you know you're doing it, it's no longer a habit, it's a choice. And now comes the $64,000 or million or billion dollar question. Why would I keep doing it? Aha. Now you're in control. Find out. What's the definition that says you're motivated to keep choosing a thing you say you don't want to keep choosing, but keep choosing? And if you ask why, what would I have to believe is true about this situation, about me, about my relationship to it, in order to believe, in order to define that this choice is the wisest, most beneficial choice for me to keep making? Because that's all you're doing. You're just making a choice. That's all you're doing. And you're doing it because you're motivated to make that choice, because you've defined it as the wisest choice to make in lieu of any other definition that works better for you. So find out what the definition is you're attaching to the situation that makes you keep choosing that. And when you identify what that definition is, it will suddenly become transparently obvious that you no longer need to buy into that definition as empirically true. It will just be understood that it has nothing to do with you. It may be something you earned or inherited from your parents or society or someone else, but it has nothing to do with you. And when you recognize it by identifying it and then replace it with a definition you prefer, you will find quite readily that it will take its place automatically, and that the definition will lead to a different feeling, and the different feeling will lead to a different behavior, and the different behavior will lead to different thoughts, and different thoughts will lead to a different experiential reality, and that cycle will be reinforced instead of the other cycle based on the other definition. Was that clear?
Yes.
Did that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you. There will be a few moments remaining for this transmission. Is there anything else someone would like to discuss in the time remaining?
Aloha.
And a you good day.
Yes. I was wondering if you could comment on the status of the cetacea, the relationship with the dolphins, and how that relates to the ET contact, because we see it as one of the first contacts.
Well,
and as
yes.
part of that, perhaps we could hear from your dreamer, the dolphin.
A little bit busy tonight, doing something else, but in spirit here, vibrationally here, but not in translation will it come. Not exactly in the way that you're used to hearing it as before. But vibration and support are being given by that being for this interaction, but busy tonight, other things to take care of, other people to talk to, other places is the mind. Understand that cetacea in this sense are very much other beings, other extraterrestrials, so to speak, on Earth, who are telepathically already in touch with other beings, such as ourselves, such as consciousness from Sirius, and other civilizations and other dimensions. They can teach you much about how to open your minds, open your hearts, to receive information clearly from other realities, other levels. Remember, one of the strongest things about why they are in the water is because in order to really interact with them, you really have to enter a different world than you're used to do so. And in entering that different world, all of your previously held beliefs start to dissolve. And that is what will allow you, if you're receptive to it, to really open up to what it is they can show you about the communications they already have going on with other beings in other dimensions of reality. And please also understand, all of you often communicate in dream time, and reincarnationally there have been many that are now human who have experienced dolphin lives, and many that are now dolphin who have experienced human lives. You are, in that sense, interchangeable without diminishment of either. And in that way, you have co-created a reality in the sea and on the land, on your planet, that aids and assists your ability to expand outward to the stars by first allowing yourself to go inward into yourselves and share with your cousins in the ocean that which is necessary to share, to learn what you need to know to go into the sea of space. Does this help? Does this help? Yes. All right. There will be a brief amount of time remaining. Is there another?
Hello.
And to you, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
Excellent.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could say a few words to support us all in finding clarity in our individual roles with regard to ET civilizations.
Your individual roles will automatically be revealed to you in the proper places and the proper times by simply being the best you can be every moment of your life with regard to following your highest joy and excitement. It's automatically part of the kit and will unfold in the life that you have agreed to live by simply being the fullest you can be, because it's all right there wrapped up, and it will unfold in due course automatically without having to try, without having to think about it. You will just be in the right place, the right time, interacting with whom you exactly need to interact with, doing exactly what you need to do, because you have been willing before that time to do that at every moment in your life, regardless of whether you would meet an ET or not. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Following your highest excitement is aligning with the vibration of your true self. By following and acting on the highest excitement every moment in your life, then, by being your true self, will you allow yourself to experience all experiences that are part of the true self you chose to be in this life. Again, that's why we say it's really simply a matter of remembering who you are. And when you remember who you are, we'll be standing right in front of you. Because you are us, and we are you. And we are just a different reflection in the mirror of all that is. And when you remember who you are, you will see us, because we're already here. All right? At this timing, we will once again extend to each and every one of you our heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for the co-creation of this interaction, this bridge, this link, this transmission, this third new reality that we already share. Our unconditional love to you all, and a fond and exciting and creative and active and playful good day. How did it go? Did you have a good time? Thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. And please, if you would, give a very, very warm thank you to Michael, Angelica, and all the volunteers for putting this together. Thank you very much.
Is there only one non-physical source we call spirit or God? Or is there really many parts that make this an idea of one whole? I'd like to know if there is a God and what I have been chasing my whole life on earth.
You are separating the idea into this or that instead of this and that. There is one and there is all, and the one and the all are the same thing in different forms. There is one that becomes the all, that is the all, that experiences itself as the all, and there are the many things that together make up the one, but are each individually their own version, their own perspective of the one. Everything is made of God. There is nothing else to make anything from, and therefore God is everything. When people on your planet talk about the idea and the notion of God being omnipresent, you have to understand that it's not possible to be everywhere unless you're actually literally everything. Therefore, it is everything. It is every atom, every subatomic particle, every object, every molecule, everything. The space even in between the things that you think of as empty space, that is even made of God. There is nowhere where God, all that is, isn't. It is everything, it is everyone, it is everywhere, it is every when. All the things make it up, and it makes up all the things.
After one becomes enlightened, is there any steps along one's path of spiritual development, or is this awakening the last step?
Enlightenment never ends. There are always different levels to awareness and enlightenment and experiences of all that is. Even if someone imagines that they reach the so-called quote-unquote highest level of becoming one with all that is, becoming one with Source, there are still many versions of what it means to experience becoming one with Source. So even becoming one with Source is not the ending of enlightenment or awareness. It is infinite, goes on forever, never ends, there's always something else.
Okay, and can you please give examples of the idea of the illusion of power versus the power of the illusion? I would like to understand this concept better.
Many people on your planet fall under the illusion of power in the sense of thinking that their physical minds need to control things. They think of themselves as powerful when they find themselves able to manipulate certain events into a certain order that allows them to feel satisfied with what it is they insist on seeking. But the idea is to understand that physical reality is a projection of consciousness. In that context, an illusion doesn't mean it's not valid. It doesn't mean the experience is not real. But understanding that you are already creating your reality based on your belief systems, based on what you define as true for you, is being able to utilize the power of the illusion to your benefit by going with the flow, by not being in resistance, by not attempting to force things into shape, but by understanding how to allow them to automatically fall into place using your own natural current, your own natural control built into you, rather than attempting to artificially control things through the physical mind, which it's not designed to do. It is only designed to give you an experience of physical reality, not to control it. The idea is that the control is already built in to the choices that you made to experience, the challenges that you chose to experience in this lifetime to grow as a soul. So allowing the idea of the agreements you made to simply unfold in perfect timing and to respond to them in a positive way, acting on your passion, following the formula, going with the flow, not resisting the natural current that you are, is the way to use the power of the illusion that's already built into it, instead of falling under the illusion that you are powerful by exercising your physical mind to control everything. which is exactly the opposite of being in control.
And if we all have unique experiences of life on Earth, do we all see the same objects and colors in the same non-biased way? Do you, Bashar, see our Earth and objects' colors the same way we do? Or do you see everything as energy or some other state?
You may have a strong sense of agreement so that what you perceive in your reality is very, very similar to what someone else may be perceiving in their reality, and therefore have a common ground, in a sense. But the idea is that you do not perceive exactly, precisely the same thing as everyone else. You all have a unique perspective. We see things also very differently than you do. We see multidimensionally far more than you do at this point in your evolution. And therefore we see energy patterns. We can recognize those energy patterns as a type of language that allows us to understand how to perceive you and other beings in a very different way, on many different levels, simultaneously, even into the idea of perceiving parallel reality aspects of your being that you are connecting to, other civilizational vibrations that you are connecting to, other dimensional expressions of your greater being and your oversoul. So yes, we see you as much bigger than you see yourselves in a variety of ways and extending into a variety of dimensional realities.
And when we use our imagination to interact with our hybrid children, what type of connection is actually happening? When this person is saying, when they play out the scenarios in their head, do they know that the hybrid children know they're doing this and come around? Can you explain this process a little more, because it's not tangible in their reality?
The hybrid children are extremely telepathic, will often pick up on when you are thinking of them, will allow their imagination to vibrationally match the imaginary scenarios that you are picturing in your head. For those that are vibrationally compatible with the realities that benefit them, they will experience what you are imagining. For those that are not necessarily relevant to them, they will not necessarily experience those portions of your imagination. They may send back a representation of what it is that would be more likely represented by them. They can reverse the telepathy in that sense and allow you, especially in dream time, to have a more representative imagination scenario that is more in alignment with their vibration. So that can work in both directions.
And you stated in a session that new children on Earth are coming through upgraded in a way that they will be able to remember the connection much faster.
Yes.
Please tell me the age range of these particular upgraded children.
Generally speaking, most of them are in their 20s at this point, although new ones are being born all the time, and therefore there's a large age range below 20 years of age. It doesn't mean that anyone over 20 isn't also hybridized in the new way, part of a new species. But the overall average age is somewhere in the 20s of those that have been hybridized to the point where they are a relatively new species. That doesn't mean that they're all in alignment. It simply means they all have different capacities than you used to have as a species. It still depends on what they choose to do with it. It still depends upon the themes that they chose to explore as to what they are capable of recognizing within themselves, but they do have a slight advantage of being capable of remembering more of who they are as a spirit connected to Source. How they interpret it will be based on the themes they chose to explore.
And could you clarify how it is that the Sasani are one of the products of the hybridization agenda, but their physical future selves seem to also be participating in it, such as yourself? I'm curious if the version of the hybridization agenda that you perceive as the origin of your society is the same as the one that you're participating in. For example, you perceive your physical self as being physically involved in the creation of your own society. Are there versions of it that were created without the involvement of physical future selves? In a similar fashion, does Willa perceive that Darryl has channeled her in the past of her timeline, which will mean the information of the 5 levels of mastery was being used on Earth before they even invented it?
You are confused by the science fiction convention of future and past and time travel. The idea is to understand us not so much literally as future selves, but as parallel reality interpretations, parallel reality counterparts that all exist simultaneously with your reality. So yes, we are involved, but literally speaking, we are not coming from what you would consider to be your future in a linear sense. We coexist with you right now. So the idea is to drop the notion that we're in your future, because that's not how it works. The idea of the utilization of the term future selves is simply an application to represent that we are very much more advanced than you, which you usually chalk up to the idea of a future evolutionary being. But we exist right now. So the idea is we coexist with you and are participating with you. We are not coming from the literal future in the science fiction sense.
And also, the idea that the third entity is created when Darryl channels you or channels Bashar. And does that being have its own individuated soul?
Of a type, yes. We will not go into detail on this at this time because it can get a little complex. But of a type, yes.
Okay, and could you clarify the differences between the grays that you're referring to and the zeta reticuli?
As we have mentioned from time to time, there are many factions of grays. And the reason for this primarily is that when we talked about the idea of grays coming from a parallel version of Earth and other parallel realities, you must understand that there are a multitude of grays from different parallel realities that come through to different versions of Earth. So you have a mix of grays, in a sense, that come from different origin points, all interacting to some degree in what you consider to be your reality. So the grays that are connected to zeta reticuli are not exactly the same grays that are involved primarily in our creation, in the idea of the hybridization agenda. So it gets a little bit confusing because some can cross over from one agenda to another from time to time. But there are many factions of grays that come from many different parallel realities, all coexisting simultaneously in what you consider to be your timeline.
Okay, and is it accurate to say that extrasolar intelligent beings cannot develop the technology to reach Earth unless they have transcended aggressive world domination agendas and other fear-based and greed-based motivations? Does this imply that regardless of the circumstances on Earth, when they arrive, these beings will be altruistic ETs?
For the most part, yes. And again, remember that those that are engaged with you will set up a vibration that would make it less likely that anything that is vibrationally incompatible with your best interests would simply not find you. You would be invisible to them because of the vibrational state of those engaged with you that are operating on a much higher frequency.
Okay, and could you please explain the game hexes written about in the book Shards of the Shattered Mirror by Darryl?
Yes. There is a playing field made of different hexes. You might call them electronically activated. And the idea is that the players standing on hexes have to, in some way, psychically or telepathically or synchronistically determine the pattern of the changes in the colors of the hexes that change from phase to phase, from moment to moment, so that when you move from one hex to another, you instinctively land on a color that moves you forward and benefits you, as opposed to eliminating you from the game. So for example, If you move from one hex to another while all the hexes are shifting and changing in color, when the hexes stop changing, stop shifting, and solidify into a particular color that was different than what they were before, or similar to what they were before, whatever color it is that you have now stood on, whatever color happens to be in the hex you have decided to go to, determines your status in the game. So if you perhaps, for example, move to a hex that winds up solidifying into a gold hex, you may have won the game. If you stand on a hex that happens to solidify into a black hex, you may be eliminated from the game. Other colors may represent different status points in the game.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Are those who are attracted to your teachings a participant in the hybridization agenda?
They don't all have to be, but about 90% or above usually are.
Okay. And it seems as more of our consciousness expands, more is revealed. Does this mean that as a collective consciousness, if we match your frequency, we will be able to see you in physical form, or will we continue seeing only via our third eye?
You will ultimately see us in physical form if your vibrational rate comes closer to matching our frequency. In some sense, that is really what contact is all about. Because as we have said, those operating on a higher frequency have the qualities of spirit. And when exposed to those frequencies, your physical body may react to them as if you are dying. And that is where the fear comes from. But the idea is that as you raise your frequency and create less differentiation between physical and non-physical reality, you become more vibrationally compatible with our natural state and can allow your senses to begin to perceive us more solidly, more corporeally, more physically.
And this person asks, saying that they 2 days ago meditated and asked to travel with a UFO, and then read in the media the day after that a UFO was observed in the same area of Norway.
Yes.
Is there any link?
Yes. That was the UFO that that person visited. Whether they remember fully or not is not the point. But they were given an opportunity to understand through the media story that what they had asked for had actually occurred. In time, they may remember. The memories may unfold. Said they were sort of under what you would call a time crunch. Therefore, they needed assistance. They would never on their own have been able to extract enough of the material to aid and assist their world in time, had they not had that assistance.
And were they successful in saving their planet?
To some degree, yes. But again, remember that what they did in creating Homo sapiens was against their laws. So the idea is that then, once Homo sapiens existed, the Anunnaki that had recalled those groups back home then had to guide, had to watch over. They still continued to extract some gold, but did it in a way that simply added to what they had already collected. They used it in positive ways for the balancing of the atmosphere of their planet, but nevertheless were also consigned to figuring out other ways in which that could be done, so they did not take advantage any further, any longer, of the creation of Homo sapiens in a negative way.
And what eventually happened to their planet? Is it still around?
It's still around, but it exists in a different dimension, and it is more connected to the star system you know as Cygnus.
And what do they call it, the planet?
Are you asking for the Anunnaki's own language for their own world?
Yes.
Ashea.
Thank you. Many people use the biblical book of Revelation to point to events happening in the future, which they think is now. Others say the book was referencing Rome at that time. Are there really any truly prophetic verses in the Bible that corresponds to events happening now?
Yes, some of them. We're not going to go into detail about that. It serves no relevant purpose at this time.
Researchers at the Pyramid of Giza discovered what they call the Pyramid Inch stone, which they have extrapolated along with corridors of the pyramid to be a timeline of the future corresponding to major world events. The timeline appears to end in 2033. Is there any validity to this, and does it coordinate with open contact occurring in this window?
Yes, it does, because everything changes after that point. As we said, open contact will occur most likely within the next 5 years, and the changes that will result from that will start to really impact the direction of humanity from that point forward. So basically, your 5 years leads up to 2030, and then 3 years after that, you will see a massive directional shift in humanity between 2033 and 2050 that will reset the direction of humanity for its future evolution. So yes, it's generally accurate in terms of when humanity changes direction and shifts its frequency in a new direction that will help it merge with the galactic family. It will be in the future remembered as an important shifting year, 2033, an important year of shift, an important direction change, what you call a sea change.
33 is also an important number. Is that correct?
Yes. And this is why we operate in the idea of threes, because creation and existence is a trinity. Therefore, vibrationally speaking, the double 33 is a very powerful transformational gate that you are going to walk through.
In 1566, there was a UFO phenomenon over the city of Basel, Switzerland. Many discs appeared to be flying over for a day. This sighting reappeared 3 weeks later. It was recorded by many people in the local newspapers. What was that? Is that city a vortex for UFOs?
It is, but what they experienced was a wave from one parallel reality to your parallel reality of another wave of the grays coming through.
I read a book by Ramtha where he mentions events that are supposed to happen to our planet. He spoke about the fall of the world as we currently know it. Many things I learned from him resonate with me, but the idea of societal collapse does not. You have often spoken about the fact that we create our own reality. Does this mean that the idea of the collapse doesn't Does this mean that if the idea of the collapse doesn't resonate with me, it won't happen? Also, could you share some information you might have about Ramtha?
We will share nothing about Ramtha because we do not endorse or deny any source of information. But the idea of the collapse is simply that you are using a negative definitional word. We have already talked quite extensively about the idea that your entire society is about to be reset and restructured, especially with regard to open contact. So you can look at that as the dissolution of your old society, a collapse, if you will, but a reinvention, a restructuring of the idea. And you are part of that. So you'll be around for it, but you don't have to see it as a negative collapse. See it as a restructuring, a redirecting, a reinventing.
My 5-year-old autistic son recently came to me with a piece of paper. He had written Orpek on the paper. He told me that this is his spirit name. He's only 5, and we do not really discuss these things. He asked me what my spirit name is, and I didn't know what to tell him. Why did my son do this? What is the spirit
Children are
name?
still strongly connected to spirit, especially up to the ages of 7 and 10 even.
they still know their connection to spirit. They still can communicate with spirits. So it's natural for a child to remember themselves as a spirit, as a soul, and can transfer a lot of information about the spirit realm to those in physical reality. So pay attention.
Can you explain the concept of time in a way the physical human mind can understand? What is time and what role does it serve?
Well, as we said, time is a side effect of your consciousness shifting through multiple parallel realities billions of times per second. The idea of time is so that you can experience the process of creation. It's like saying, in a timeless state, I'm going to tell you a story. So here's the story from a timeless perspective. Once upon a time, and they lived happily ever after. What happened to the middle of the story? What happened to how did we get from once upon a time to happily ever after? What was the process? What was the adventure? What was the experience? What were the lessons? How did it grow? How did it change? What was the path? So, time exists within the soul, a certain focus of the soul, to experience the process, to experience the story unfolding so that you can discover yourself from a new point of view. That's how creation expands. As we have said, the structure of existence never changes. What changes constantly, what expands creation, is your relationship to it, your perspective of it, your experience of it. And that's what time is for, to allow existence to continue to expand infinitely so that you can discover yourself from a new point of view, which allows existence and all that is to experience itself from a new point of view, constantly, constantly, constantly experiencing itself, changing, expanding, growing, learning, being new. But the structure never changes. It is what it is. Existence is what it is. The experience of existence only happens with the idea of time. Otherwise, there's no experience. Things just are.
Is it possible to become too dependent on our permission slips, such as with crystals? I had something happen and I reached into my pocket to hold on to the crystals, and I realized I'd forgotten to put them in there and started to freak out, thinking I needed the crystals to keep me in the positive, even though deep down I know it's not true.
Well, if deep down you know it's not true, then you know that the answer to your question is yes, of course. Anything can become an addiction from the negative side. The idea of anything you use as a permission slip is to teach you that the power is coming from you. It's just that you happen to be using a particular device that aligns with your belief system to allow yourself to be more of who you are. So, yes, if you rely on it more than you need to, then yes, it can become a crutch. It can become an addiction. So the fact that you panicked when you realized you didn't have it might be a good indication that you need to start allowing yourself to wean yourself from that so that you can understand more clearly that you're the one that has the power and that the permission slip is just allowing you to be more aware of that. It's not coming from the permission slip. It's coming from you.
And this next person says, my contact crystal broke. Is that a symbolic representation of something? I still feel my heartbeat when I do the meditation on it.
Yes, in that sense, it doesn't really mean that much. The idea of the contact crystal breaking can be slightly a permission slip recognition that the idea of open contact has been slightly postponed. But that's all. Don't worry about it.
Can you tell us why it's been postponed?
I already did, didn't I? Your reactions to the comments that were made act as a barometer that tell us whether you are or not ready for contact. So there is still a little more work to do. There is still a little more clarification to be had. And this is why we encourage all of you to start talking to one another, regardless of your belief system. Do that work, and the nature of open contact will become more positive. Refuse to do the work, stay sequestered in your differences and divisiveness, Open contact will take on a different flavor and a different color. It will still happen, but you may prefer the version of open contact that is more representative of coming together than being divisive. That's all we will say about that.
This person says they saw Wicked last night, the movie, and it was a thrilling experience. Why is the story of the Wizard of Oz and its iterations so significant in our culture?
Well, again, what we've been talking about, the idea of two different points of view that can come together or that can be flung apart. Which will it be? So use your magical selves, be the wizards that bring the two sides together so that the land of Oz, your world, can live in peace and harmony and respect instead of being so divisive. The splitting prism doesn't mean that you have to experience the idea of divisiveness. It simply means that you will experience whatever is relevant for you. It's not a contradiction or a mutually exclusive state of affairs to the idea of harmony and peace on your world. So create a new reality. You can shift. You're still splitting to new realities. You're still moving, still shifting through different parallel versions of Earth. But you can certainly do that with more togetherness than divisiveness. We would love to welcome all of you. Not that we have to, but we would love to welcome all of you and introduce all of you to your galactic family. But you're the ones in charge. Remember, fear and negativity are not conducive to open contact. That's all we will say. And we are not pointing fingers at any one side. You both have an abundance of fear and negativity. Let it go. Talk to one another. Support each other. Explore each other. Find the deeper issues in each other that you can all agree on. Recognize in each other's character what is representative of a willingness to be a true person and what is representative of being something out of alignment. So, discern, but work together to do so. Again, there's a lot happening you are unaware of on many different levels. Come together, find out what that is, make a declaration of true independence. Move forward together. The time is close approaching for the introduction of the oracle. Are you done with your questions for the moment?
Yes, that is the end of our questions. Is there anything else you would like to add?
We will now add and allow and facilitate what the oracle will say. Once again, we remind you, before the oracle speaks, the two most important things that we have shared with all of you at this time on your planet to move you toward contact in a positive, creative, peaceful, harmonious way is to remember that it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference, and to stay in a positive state no matter what manifests so that you can get a benefit from it. Remember those two things along with what the oracle now has to say. Again, we encourage you, since the oracle will repeat this 3 times in its transmission, to write it down so there is no misunderstanding. And again, I remind you We completely leave it up to you to understand, to divine the meaning and the mystery and the interpretation of what the oracle will say. We will not help you with this. This is left in your hands. But use it creatively. Come from your heart. Come from your soul. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. We will now allow the facilitation of the oracle, who will repeat the transmission 3 times. The dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. And when the light of truth comes forth, the blind shall see once again. The dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. And when the light of truth comes forth, the blind shall see once again. The dark night of the soul calls forth the light within. And once the light of truth comes forth, the blind shall see once again. This is a being from the Interstellar Alliance Council. Again, it translates in your language simply as the Oracle. This was an oracular transmission. There may be more in the future as we get closer to the idea of open contact. We will leave it to you to ponder the mysteries inherent within the oracular transmission. We will thank you at this time for allowing this transmission to occur. Our deep appreciation to all of you. Our unconditional love to all of you. Take heart. Be at peace. Continue to breathe. Relax into the remainder of the transmission. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe.